And welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Trades HQ podcast. My name is Michael Cipes. You can find me on Twitter at FFBlitz. And I'm here with my partners, Jeremy Browand.
You can find me on Twitter at DynastyMadman.
And actually, we don't have Shane here tonight, unfortunately. He couldn't make it tonight. Shane will be back too. Well, actually, yeah, we're going to be recording Tuesday already in like a couple days, aren't we?
He'll be back. Yeah, he'll be back with us then.
Yeah, with what some things happened this week, so we kind of ended up being late this week. So we're doing it on a Saturday night. But, you know, today was the opening weekend of the XFL. So
you know it.
we always joked around too about how when we do a show, something happens on the day we do a show. So this was kind of planned for 2 years that this was happening today. But for us, it just kind of happened today that we were doing a show on XFL Day.
I planned ahead for 2 years and still didn't end up watching it today, unfortunately.
No, and you know what's funny about planning ahead? I remember when they announced the XFL 2 years ago, I created XFL Blitz, a Twitter handle, and I did a couple things with it, and that same day you did Madman XFL, right?
Yep, yeah, with the logos and stuff, so we were ready, and then we had to wait a long time, but finally.
And I didn't even think about it, and with all the hype going on this whole week, I could have been tweeting out of it, and then this morning I was like, oh shit, and so I just started tweeting.
I forgot I had one too, because we were goofing around when the AAF came out, and
right?
We did that, and then completely forgot I'd set up the XFL, and sure enough, I was able to log in and use it today. So
yeah,
man, good timing, huh?
Yeah, and we tweeted out a bunch of stuff from the HQ handle and from my handle and your handle, and then our XFL handles. So wait, you said you didn't watch, or you did watch?
No, I couldn't. We had the kids' basketball games and other things going on today, and I caught only a few plays of Cardale Jones, man, my guy Cardale Jones, the DC team, right? That's it. That's all I saw.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to watching some highlights, maybe even rewatching, both games. And I know this is opening weekend, right? So there were only 2 games today. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 2 more tomorrow. I watched both games today while I was around the house doing some work and stuff. I will tell you this. It's really cool. It was on 2 different networks. The first game was on ABC and the second game was on Fox. And it's amazing how you could see the difference in the quality and the animation and the just the feeling of the way they do things. ABC's opening, like I was all excited. Oh, cool. I can't wait to see how they do an opening. And it was kind of, it was okay, but it wasn't like anything spectacular. But then when the Fox one started, you get all the Fox graphics, you get all the fast motion, the excitement.
I'm not surprised that happens, or that happened. We see that in the NFL as well. Different networks do things a bit differently. They have certain ways of doing it. That's cool that Fox was able to pull that off, and hopefully, I'm excited about this. It's not during the NFL season. It's a season of its own, on its own. It's supposed to be exciting. It should be. They've built it up, to be a passing. They've set up so many rules for it to be a passing offenses, to be, geared toward a lot of passing, even to running backs. Some teams not running with tight ends or not using running backs in the traditional fashion. That all that's just exciting for fans. So I'm thinking this time around, they might have hit the nail on the head and been successful with all these different things they're doing. I want an alternate league, a different league, a sustained one, not the AAF, but I want this to make it and be exciting and have football year round,
Yeah. I was around when the XFL did it the first time, but mostly because back then I was around because I've been a wrestling fan for a long time. So I've watched wrestling for a long time. So the WWE making a football league, the first time it was really cool because there was a lot of interaction. Even the very first games, you had WWE announcers calling games, and you had WWE talent at the shows and everything. And they tried to make it something that they thought was what people wanted to see, and it didn't succeed. This time, It's still the WWE. Vince owns this, Vince McMahon, but they have no tie to wrestling whatsoever. They never mentioned wrestling. They never have any of the wrestling people there. They're just staying away. They're keeping it as two separate entities.
I like that. I think that's great because let it stand on its own. It can stand on its own. It can be sustained just by the product that it is, and draw upon some of the things that made the WWE exciting and successful for so long, but there's no need to drag that kind of stuff into it. It almost makes it too cheeky.
Yeah.
Like it, in a way, having the wrestling presence almost takes away from the quality that could be had from this football product. So let it stand on its own. Then maybe someday you can intermingle the two. But, let the product shine on its own. If it's a good enough product, it will.
Yeah, and it's funny when I was talking about the different networks doing presentations differently, Fox always has had that way of showing the NFL, like you said. But, Fox paid the WWE $1 billion, $1 billion to bring,
I knew it was a lot,
to bring SmackDown.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah. So
that's a crazy number.
On Friday nights live, they have wrestling is on a national network channel. So the fact that they have the WWE on Fridays, but then they have the XFL, and it just looked, the presentation of it was just so much cooler. Even the way they explained, there's rule changes, there's little things that are different. Also the fact that there's 8 teams and all, the way Fox presented all that to you and showed you all of that was way more entertaining and fun than it was on ABC. At least that was my opinion about it. And you know what else is funny? You and I talked about it together. We didn't talk about it online or anything, but a lot of people have been talking about it like, who's your team? Who's your team going to be? This and that. And it's hard to decide who your team's going to be before anything is ever even played.
I know. That's the dilemma. I mean, as a Browns fan, I was excited to be able to make my own damn choice. I wasn't indoctrinated into anything. So I was able to do that. And I looked at Tampa Bay and, like the vacation there, like the visit, know a lot about it. I don't have any affinity or affiliation to any other city. And I was talking with my son, and we looked at the Tampa Bay uniforms and some of the players, and that it was going to be a pretty good team this year, they thought. And all those things kind of, fed into, I should probably follow this team. You're down there, have friends down there too, other friends. And then I, Cardale Jones, Ohio State, love that kid. Nothing but fondness for him. And he's playing for, DC instead, the Defenders. And so I have to be his fan. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to be a bit of a fan of Cardale Jones and hope he wins. But then, also the Vipers, I was having trouble. And my son liked the Vipers and I like Cardale Jones. So that's how we're going to go at it. I'm going to root for the Defenders. He's going to root for the Vipers. But, secretly, I'm going to root for the Vipers too. Because that's just, dude, those uniforms are badass. And I just like what they're doing. I mean, they seem like a really exciting franchise. So, and you're down there. That's your team, right? That's who you decided to follow them?
Well, that's
your guys, right?
That was what I originally thought. Yeah, it's down here. It's actually a 4-hour drive from my house if I want to go to a game, which I'm probably going to go next weekend because their opening game is next weekend here in Tampa.
Take your son to that, man. That'll be badass.
Yeah.
He's going to love that.
Well, and then what I was thinking was all along I had thought that's what I would do because of Florida and the connection but then when I was watching the games today, it was actually kind of fun to watch the games and then see what you like and then maybe come up with something different. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm going to pick whichever was the best team. That way you're like a bandwagon jumper or anything like that. But I did choose the Vipers just because it was Florida. But you know what was cool too? What was it was the Roughnecks, the Wildcats, the Defenders, and the Dragons. Those were the teams that played today. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep a straight face, but we have a new way of doing our show. We're not using Skype. We're using a new video package thing. So Jeremy has a green screen behind him, and he just has some funny pictures behind him. So it keeps making me laugh. The other thing that's hilarious, and nobody can really see this, I'll do a screen capture and put it up on Twitter or something, but it has our names underneath us on the visuals. So underneath mine, it says FF Blitz. But your Twitter name now is Madman Dynasty. But when you look,
it's Dynasty Madman.
No. Yeah. Well, okay, it's Dynasty Madman. You're right, on Twitter. But you put your name as Madman Dynasty on this thing, but you put the wrong letters as capital. So it says Mad Mandy Nasty, and I just thought that was hilarious. That was your name. I didn't.
Total accident when I was trying to set my account up on play draft. Of course, it's gone. I shed a tear. Did a little funeral service for them. Sad that they went away because it was a great place to play best ball for little money, a lot of contests, small contests, and have fun. Like I said, I loved it. I don't want to go on and on about it, but I was trying to set up my account on there, and I mistyped it, and it ended up going in at like similar to that. Had on my new keyboard on my laptop as Mad Mandy Nasty, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave that. Because it does spell Madman Dynasty, but it's off, and so Brad Ray's he's a big Mr. Mode. He's a big play draft guy. And, we talked a lot, and the first draft we did together, he saw it and he goes, "Who the hell is that?"
Well, that's what I said to you when I first saw it. I was like, "Why are you calling yourself Mad Mandy Nasty?" And you're like, "Well, just change the capital letters." I was like, "Oh shit, you're right. It says Mad Mandy Dynasty."
Sounds like some dirty girl that's crazy playing football with us.
All right, well, back to what I was saying. So what I was saying was the team that I thought was kind of cool today was the Seattle Dragons, because when you look on Twitter, their mascot is like a dragon from Game of Thrones spitting out fire and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, there's a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, no, the dragon, that's awesome. It's truly, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons. I will say this too, in that Roughnecks Wildcats game, the Houston team, their quarterback was that PJ Walker, and I think he led the league today, at least in scoring and
Yeah, weren't you saying 4 touchdowns and like over 270 yards of pass?
Yeah.
So that's something that's a product I can get behind when the offense is doing stuff like that.
The cool thing too was in the very beginning of the game, they start the game off, and I think they did a running play or something like that, and then the announcer said, the coach June Jones, now you'll see him air it out, and like they hiked the ball and the guy aired it down the field. The guy caught it and they scored a touchdown. And it was really funny the way the announcer said it, and then they did it. But
they're probably excited too. I bet those guys. I mean, this is new for everybody. It's fresh. They're trying to build all levels of excitement. The NFL season's over. I bet the announcers are having a pretty good time with this too. And just one thing that caught me as you're talking about this, and it builds excitement for everyone, is I read that when Cardale Jones, I already said I love that guy, and that's why I want to follow the Defenders in DC. But and like Matthew Berry pointed out today, somebody tweeted that to him, I think that it's the first time we've had a winning Washington franchise or something.
Yeah, that was in our DM thread in the league we're in with Matthew. They were talking about that in the DM thread, and then they tweeted it out. Yeah,
I mean, it's true. Washington football is not the greatest, but Cardale Jones steps out there. He throws his first successful pass down the field, and the crowd is chanting MVP. MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so cool.
And there's a wrestler in the WWE named MVP, and even my son, he was doing his work on the couch next to me, and he heard them chanting MVP, and I was like, yeah, but it's not for the wrestler. So, the other thing, cool, you didn't see it, you said, but
nope.
But I will say this: looking on Twitter, it was overwhelmingly positive, I think, on Twitter. A lot of people that I was reading, they seemed to like the product that was given today. But one of the things they did when you talk about the announcers is they like really communicated with people during the game. Like they were talking to the people on the sideline during the game, and the people on the sideline were talking to the players during the game. So even like, a field goal kicker misses a field goal, and then he's going off the field, and the reporter is got a microphone right in his mouth right when he misses a field goal, So I know you didn't. You guys do not want to know what he's doing to the pictures behind him.
The green screen is amazing.
That green screen is amazing. But yeah, that was one thing that I saw people talking about online that they liked. At first, some people didn't like it, but then afterwards, everybody seemed to like it. I even saw JJ Watt. JJ Watt tweeted out, "Man, that's brutal that you miss a field goal, and then all of a sudden they got a mic in your mouth as you're walking off the field." And they were. And so there's a couple things. The original XFL, when it folded, the NFL took over a couple of the things that they did. The biggest thing to me was that, the cam on a string, that the NFL didn't have that camera over them on the field until after the XFL did it. And then they folded and then the NFL did it. So there's things in the game today that I heard and I saw people online saying that they thought the kickoff, the way the XFL does the kickoff, is something the NFL should adopt. Did you see the way they did that?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the rules, for sure. And explain what the details of it are, but I absolutely do. And also, instead of kicking the boring ass extra point component.
Yeah.
And there's so many things they could improve upon to be less archaic. The old old school, good old boy network of doing things, doing business, letting players celebrate, not taunting, not being assholes about it, not hovering over a guy and like, I just hit you, haha, but celebrating touchdowns however they want. Actually let them do that. No penalties, no flags. Just, let the team enjoy those moments because the fans enjoy those moments. And it's a shared excitement. But yeah, the things that you're talking about, any way you can inject some, a level, I keep saying excitement, but a level of fun to the NFL. It's still a business. They're still making a lot of money. It's the best football on earth, but let everybody have a little bit more fun with it and not distract anyone from the level of professionalism, but have just a more exciting game. Like, punting, kicking, all that stuff is kind of boring. And hopefully they have a better plan. I don't know, Mike, you tell me, what do they do for overtime?
Well, it didn't happen. They thought in the first game it was going to go to overtime, but then it didn't happen. But, so we haven't seen an overtime play out yet. But, just the kickoff alone, which people were talking about, they have the two teams lined up like, I think it's, 10 yards apart in the middle of the field. Right. And then they kick the kickoff and everybody has to stay still until the player gets the ball. And then once the player gets the ball, then they're allowed to start moving. But part of what that is, which I never realized it, but they said in the NFL, when they do the kickoff, these guys run full speed down the field and like plow into everybody. And
we don't even know all the injuries that happen.
Exactly.
They have altered the rules a little to kind of protect the head injuries that happen on the kickoffs. Some of the full speed hits that these guys, take. I get it. I mean, football's a contact sport, but it's like you get hit hard running two guys full speed. It's like a head-on car collision or something rather than, getting, two cars kind of side by side rubbing fenders during a NASCAR race. I mean, it's head on. They kick from the 25-yard line, but then the teams are at the 35 and then that's on kickoffs and they're like, so they're closer together. Yeah. I actually think that's going to be fun, man.
The extra point thing was actually kind of interesting because I heard the commissioner talking about it and he was saying like in the NFL, the extra points, basically. But the extra point in the NFL turns out to be like 96% always done. So he's like, it's boring. Nobody cares. It's like a given. So the way
everybody wants to see that 2-point conversion. Everybody. Right. As long as your team, has a shot at the game, even if they don't, if they're behind, you always want to see the 2-point conversion.
Right. So the way they do it in this league is there is no extra point kick. It's you get the ball on the 2 for 1 point, you get the ball on the 5 for 2 points, or you get the ball on the 10 for 3 points.
And I love that. And how did it shake out today? Did you see how many teams tried it from the 10, or did most of them do the 2 or 5?
I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, unless I stepped out of the room or something, I didn't see anybody do the 3 points for 10 yards for 3 points, but I did see a couple times they went for 2, and most of the time they went for 1.
The cool thing is, if you're playing from behind and you need that, on top of scoring your 6-point touchdown, and you're like, you know what, let's go for it from the 10. All this stuff just is sensible.
Yeah.
It's a way to not only give your team a shot to win a game, like a legitimate chance as time is waning, maybe, but to keep fans interested. How many times do we get down inside of 2 minutes and you already know by then it's likely your team is going to lose? Like, so defeating. It's almost like the end of an NBA game where it just drags on and everybody's following each other. Who wants to watch that? It's too stalled. It's too interrupted. There's no continuity. It's just not fun. And so if they can keep the game moving and a team truly has a shot at it with as long as you get a touchdown, you get a shot at 3 points, do it. I mean, any way you can inject fun into a league. And I'm excited for all this stuff, dude.
Yeah, I think maybe I would assume with the Roughnecks and the Wildcats, because it was a 20-point difference, they may have went for 3. I don't know. We had started to get ready for the show tonight before that game ended, so I didn't get to see the end of that game. So they may have. But one of the other thing about keeping the game moving, like you said, is each team only has 2 timeouts, not 3.
Yep.
There are no coaches challenges, so they can't challenge.
Every play is reviewed, right?
Yeah. So they can't challenge it. The halftime is only 10 minutes. And even that, there's some kinks to be worked out in that. But even in the halftime, they went in the locker room with the cameramen and they were like seeing what was going on and stuff. So they're trying to do some things different. But you know what we're trying to do different tonight is, since we didn't have Shane, we decided to bring in D-Win, and D-Win, Daryl Winstead from DFF. He watched the XFL today, so he'll want to talk about that as well, right?
Yeah, he watched both games. Fella goes by Hollywood moniker. I don't know why. I expect.
Well, we'll ask him.
Nashville or something. We'll have to ask him about that. But he's all about dynasty football and IDP, and he is excited, like you, Mike, like me, about the XFL. And that bastard got to watch both games today too, just like you. I'm mad at you guys, by the way.
Well, let's bring him in. All right.
Officially, yes, let's do it.
Officially. All right. It's funny. All right. So, in the technology that is podcasts, it's not like a radio show or anything where we call somebody and it happens right away. We're doing a podcast. So we said we were going to bring in our guest, and we had a couple little bit of technical difficulties. And now that we're ready to go, we're about to do it. And then he's like freaking out and we're laughing. So, welcome, Daryl. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, before we get started, tell everybody who you are, where they can find you, what you do, everything about you.
Oh, man, you can follow. I'm Hollywood at DFF D-Win. You can follow me everywhere. You can follow me at Dynasty Football Factory. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Reddit as King Titan 1. You can follow me on my IDP Nation Facebook page. I'm a little bit of everywhere. I'm on IDP Nation. I'm making the rounds on all the podcasts, and I'm here with you guys, and I'm loving it. So thanks.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. It's good to talk to you. We've been on your show. Each of us has been on your show before, talking some IDP and other things, and it's great to have you on today.
It's great to be on. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny. I told Doug that one of the most fun times I ever had as a guest on a show was on that Rated IDP Live with you guys.
Dude, I was supposed to be there that night.
Oh my God!
Came up, and I'm it was my loss. I knew it would be, but I'm so sad I wasn't there.
There's been 2 times in the last month that I was supposed to come on with you guys, and then things didn't work out, so I didn't do it. I know with Tennessee, so you're a big Tennessee Titans fan, right? You were devastated that they didn't make it 1 game away.
Man, I was raising so much hell.
Raising Cain, baby.
I was. I mean, we beat the Patriots, the Empire, as everybody calls them. Then we beat the number 1 seed, the Ravens.
I was so personally happy about both of those. I was with you. So awesome that happened.
And at that point, I'm completely all in. I think we've got the Chiefs, and we have them. We actually had them right where we want them, and I don't know what happened. We got away from our game plan, and all I can say is we lost to the Super Bowl champs. So
yeah.
That's how you have to think about it. They kick ass.
Daryl and I are in a couple different DM threads, because we're in a couple leagues together, and then also we were in a one with Doug, Oklahomian Doug, and we were going from thread to thread, talking back and forth about Tennessee, because for me it became a team that I wanted only because of Tannehill. I wanted him to come to the Super Bowl down here in Miami. I thought that would have been cool, but we were also talking UFC that night too, right? You were like a big UFC thing with Conor McGregor and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So speaking of all that, Jeremy and I just talked about the XFL for a few minutes, but we know you watched the XFL today, right?
Yes, I did, and I was pleasantly surprised with what they put out. I mean, I was a huge AAF fan, but what the XFL did was way beyond what they put together. So, yeah, I was really surprised and pleased with what they put out. The product on the field was very good.
And why do you say better than the AAF? Because you like that. Why were you surprised, and in a good way? I want to hear what you think.
I think the AAF could have been really good. I just think the NFL kind of, in my opinion, I think they let it falter. They let it drop. Because soon as that league folded, they started snatching up players, and that tells me right there that they were watching, they were interested, they wanted those guys. But the XFL is a little different, That's not their baby. That belongs to Vince McMahon and the WWE.
Woohoo!
And yeah, woohoo! I'm all in it. And if you follow me, you know what? Becky Lynch, she's the bomb.
I was going to bring that up in a little bit, but yes, I know. I definitely follow all that with you. But go ahead, keep going with XFL.
But yeah, they put a good product out today. I mean, the first two games, it was competitive. The new rule changes, all that, it made it interesting. They attacked it in a way that no one else has, and with these changes, these rule changes, I think it's going to stick around a while. I mean, it gives these guys that don't make the NFL, it gives them a good platform to showcase what they can do. And
because they do have talent. Yeah, maybe they can't play on an NFL team, or maybe they just aren't experienced or seasoned enough to do so in many cases, because there really isn't a minor league. You hope you stick on a practice squad and it works out, that team fits, and something happens to get you on the field. But there's no minor league. There's nothing for players who aren't signed to an NFL contract to really do other than try out for NFL teams. So it gives the league validity in that these players that are good in certain ways to showcase their talents, and the excitement level. We don't want football to stop. And Mike and I were talking about how the things earlier before you joined, how the things that the XFL are doing, the NFL should really start taking notes. There are issues with the NFL, the excitement level in games, the lack of continuity. It's slow at times. It stalls at the end of games when a team's up and they can just sit on the ball. I mean, there are things that they do in the NFL that really don't make it a fun game, and the XFL is trying to change that with some of the rules.
Totally, I agree.
One thing I thought about that we do as dynasty players and stuff like that. We've talked about it a lot over the last year or so on our show about how when you're getting players on your roster, you get those running backs, you get those third string, fourth string, because by week 12, 13, 14, you have running backs starting on your roster that you never even thought you would even have drafted.
No names in some cases.
Right. So, but if you think about it, because I thought about that while I was watching XFL today, if you think about it, some of those guys are actually practice squad running backs and stuff like that the team brings up from the practice squad the Monday before, and then they're playing on Sunday. So those guys, just because they were on the practice squad, they're technically an NFL player. A lot of these guys on the XFL are players that maybe were in that group of people that when they cut down to the main roster in the offseason that didn't quite make the team, and then they're on taxis or whatever. But now they're over here in the XFL and they're getting a chance to play. I mean, there was guys playing today like Jarrell Presley. I remember a couple years ago I had AP IDP in every one of my leagues. So Jarrell Presley was, you get him in your rookie draft because maybe he'll get a chance to play. So some of these guys that are getting a chance to play today are technically those guys that were on taxi squads that just never got that opportunity or that injury or that thing where they got a chance to move up and play. But here they get to play today.
And some of them, in fact, are probably better than some of the NFL players. They just maybe haven't hit a home run to show that team. A la Rashad Ross, who did really well in the AAF and then scored a touchdown today from Cardale Jones. Clearly the guy can play wide receiver. What's preventing him from becoming an NFL wide receiver? He looks really good, and he's done it, in different weeks for different leagues now, and I liked him anyway. Before the AAF and before the XFL, but he's not on an NFL team. Why? I mean, there are some shitty wide receivers in the NFL. Am I wrong?
Right.
Well, what do you like to be called, Daryl? Do you like to be called Daryl, D-Win, or Hollywood?
It doesn't matter. Whatever y'all guys are comfortable with, I'm good with.
Well, I wanted to ask you because, like you said, you do a lot of IDP Nation, IDP rated up.
I always call him D-Win, but that's just because it's easy. And D-Win. I know it's Daryl Winstead, and D-Win was his handle, and I just say D-Win and win. Anybody wants to, be associated with the word win.
Well, it is funny. You do have a lot of monikers, a lot of handles. So
I do.
But you are known a lot for your IDP and your knowledge in that. What did you think about with today's two games? Did any IDP players stand out to you? Were you happy to see somebody back, or were you happy about some of the players that happened today?
Yeah, I was just watching basically overall. I mean, it was. I wanted to see how they used everybody, how they integrated everybody. I didn't look for specific positions or players. The DC guys, they were really good. I kind of wanted to give it a week, really, before I really got into it and see who I was after and who I was not after. But, I mean, there's some good games. I mean, we got 2 more games tomorrow, so we'll see. I want to give it this first week and see where everything kind of lines out and go from there.
All right, cool. Yeah, are you doing any XFL fantasy or anything? I know a lot of people are jumping on that.
I wanted to get in on it.
I really wanted to, but man, I didn't get in any leagues right now. I was so close. I just kind of wanted to just take a moment and just back up from it. But
dude,
yeah, I really wanted to, but I think I actually applied for a league, and for whatever reason, it didn't quite work out. So
no, I know. But was it altfantasysports.com where we played some of the AAF?
That's where we played the AAF stuff.
I tried to join one of the leagues that you're talking. Think with Christopher Bean.
Yes.
And then another one, and the site normally is crappy. It's non-functional, it's weird, it's archaic, but it wasn't. I mean, I'm saying it's archaic and weird and a throwback. It wasn't working at all. You couldn't even log on to it after a while, and that's disappointing because it was free, and I was fine with putting up with the lack of having a good interface or anything else, and it wouldn't even let us log in.
I will say this: we all jumped into the AAF?
AAF,
yeah. We all jumped into leagues for that, and by after week 1, most of us didn't log in anymore. And I think with the XFL, hopefully, they have a 3-year deal, right? I believe they have a 3-year deal with Fox and with ABC, and they also
have guaranteed salaries. At least a percentage of the player salaries are guaranteed. So
right, and they also
step up right there.
They also have deals with Vegas and Caesars and DraftKings and FanDuel and all stuff. So
and all package, yep.
Right. So there's more of a base for them that hopefully it can last. So maybe we'll all jump into some fantasy leagues going forward.
Yeah, there's daily fantasy sports. We talked about that. You can do some DFS with this, but I tend to steer away from DFS sites and games. I'm not a big fan of how it's set up, and I could go on and on for a whole show about why I don't like it. But, I don't really want to do that. I'd rather do more of a redraft league for XFL on any site, really, whatever it is.
I think a lot of people were burned with the other one, and maybe that's why it didn't happen. And also the fact that there was really only one place that we could have done it. I know that thing with Christopher Bean that both of you guys said, yeah, I was in that group chat too, where they were like, who wants to do it, you know? And you couldn't even log into it, but
poor guy gave up. He's like, forget it, it's not working. Just never mind. He was so excited going in. Like, deflated as hell. Just forget it.
It's so funny. So Daryl, you said that you like the WWE also. So were you a fan of the XFL the first time around?
Yes, I was. She hate me. I love it. The names on the back. I was all in on that. I was.
We talked about it earlier. I remember sitting in a hotel opening weekend, and you had Jim Ross and you had Jerry Lawler calling football games.
Yes.
and you had WWE wrestlers in the audience. I mean, this time they really stayed away from all of that. There was barely any mention of them at all today.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of surprised by that, but I think it worked to their advantage. I mean, it's almost like they recognized that this was something different from wrestling, and they wanted to recognize that it was different from wrestling. So, I mean, I was all in on it. The product on the field, the announcers, the whole 9 yards. I was all in on it today.
It's amazing that you just said that, because I swear to you, Mike and I, when we talked about this early on in the show before bringing you on, and that's pretty much what we said. And we almost were mirror images of each other. And the fact that it's a standalone football league. It doesn't need to lean on the WWE. Nothing against it.
Right.
But they built something that is good enough on its own that you don't need the shtick.
See, and they spent 2 years doing it, and I think I don't know about you, Daryl. Jeremy and I talked about it earlier. I saw an overwhelming positive response on Twitter today. It really seemed like everybody was happy with what they saw today.
Had a good time. Had good things to say, positive things to say. Those who watched it were largely favorable responses, funny stuff. They liked the hits. The hits were crazy. That's the thing I wanted you to say about the IDP. Dude, there were some crazy defensive hits that I just saw in highlights, like guys just getting leveled.
Yeah, in the second game, I forget the name of it, but there was a goal line pass, and the dude hit him just as soon as the ball got there. And they were like, you know what? That's a clean, legal hit. And I was like, yes, hell yes. You know, I mean,
you know,
that the NFL's watching, and you know they are, but like, you know, take some notes, you old bastards.
That hit that you said too, that was a meme. I saw it all over the internet, and people were like, that's the way to do a goal line stop. Yeah, I saw that one too. And you know what's really cool? We all do this so much with the NFL, and when we talk about this stuff, we can pull out the names and everything right away. We all are watching the XFL today, and everybody goes, well, I don't know that guy's name, or I don't know this guy, but that was a great play, you know? So eventually we'll get to the point where we do know these guys' names. You know, one person that did stand out for me, mostly because in fantasy I had him all over the place, was Coney Ely. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I had him in a lot of my teams when he came out, but he played pretty well today. You know, they said his name quite a few times, rushing the quarterback against LA. I was happy to see him out there, you know.
Yes, I mean, that's a former NFL player. He played for the Carolina Panthers. Didn't work out for whatever, but I'm really glad to see him to get this opportunity because he can shine. Maybe he can latch on somewhere in the NFL. He had a big game, and I mean, he really showed that he's the elite in this league.
Shame me about the NFL. You know, when we talk about things that they could improve upon, and it's slow. It's just slow getting them to like, come to terms and do things that fans want to see, like celebrations and just, you know, keep it professional. It's the best league in the world, but there are things that they could do better, especially like the slow periods and the extra points and you know, or points after. I love and I hate the overtime setup too, where a team, you know, the first possession basically, you know, as long as you secure that and get a field goal, you can win a game. That's kind of lame, especially in a close game with two good teams, or a team with, you know, teams with really good offenses that both could go tit for tat and both score. You want to see that. That's exciting. And I love what the XFL has done with overtime. I mean, it's a complete departure. First of all, the NFL could learn from college football. Like some of the things that happen overtime in college football is preferred. I watch a lot of college football. I like it. I love it. But the new overtime consisting of 5 rounds, like one-play drives that start at the opponent's 5-yard line. The team with the most points after 5 rounds is declared the winner. The defensive team, it can't score. So if the defensive team commits a penalty, the offensive team is allowed to reattempt to play from the 1-yard line. There's no ties. The rounds continue even after that round of 5. But basically, they're just these, 5-yard line short drives to see what team can swing. And now that's kind of going to benefit teams that have, maybe stronger offensive lines, maybe better running backs. We already know from the first 2 games and from what's been said about the XFL that they're not really focusing on the running game. They're focusing on the passing game. Some teams don't have the tight ends or, the run between the tackle guys. They're thinking about throwing the ball. So I don't know how that stuff will mix in, but just the fact that both teams have a shot to win the game, tit for tat, back and forth in a melee at the end of a game. I mean, it's like it's like overtime in hockey, which I love. That. We just went last night and watched Ohio State beat Penn State, 3rd overtime. There was 5-on-5, 3-on-3. I know that's not football. Then there was a shootout. But it was so damn exciting to the last second. It was exciting. And that's the kind of stuff that the NFL does not do. It's like a bunch of old guys sitting around going, well, I don't know. I still think we should serve small glasses of scotch. Most people don't do that.
It's so funny when you say a small glass of scotch and then I watch Daryl drink that ginormous can of beer.
Huge can of beer, I know, yeah.
I mean, I have this giant apple, whatever this wicked apple thing is, but I poured in a cup first,
You guys know I have coffee in this, don't you?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, man.
Daryl, you made a comment about, if they get a chance in the NFL. Do you think the mentality of these players out there that are playing, that they're trying to play well so that the NFL notices them and then they can leave already and go to the NFL?
Right.
Actually, I do. I mean, this is their chance to shine. I mean, you get snubbed or you're kind of cast to the side because you didn't make it or whatever. I mean, this is your chance to, on a big stage, because everybody's watching. It's new, because you got WWE fans, you got football fans. Everybody is watching this, and they are looking at who's going to stand out, who's going to be that star. So, yeah, I really do. I think this is very important to every player, offense, defense. This is their stepping stone. They want to shine at the biggest level. And while it might not be the NFL, this is their ticket to something bigger. So, yeah, I think they really do.
What if it does catch on? I mean, the fact that it's so overwhelmingly positive on Twitter, what if it does catch on? What if it becomes a league? Do you think that it would be something where people will be happy to stick around, or do you think they'll still want to go, well, fuck it, I still want to go over to the NFL and be the 3rd string guy on the team?
Oh, man. See, you take me back to the AFF. And while it may not have got to the start or may not have the popularity of the XFL, I really personally liked what they put on the field. It was a good feeder system to the NFL. But the NFL, pardon my language, they shit all over this. They did. I mean, they did. Because and everybody's like, oh, no. Really? The minute the league that the AFF folded, the NFL jumped on every player that was good that they wanted. They jumped all over it. And that tells me right there, they were watching, they were taking notice. The NFL, were curious of what was going on. And they're doing the same with the XFL. The difference is the XFL is owned by Vince McMahon, and he's like, you know what, NFL, screw you. This is ours. We will do this how we want to. And you know, the NFL is kind of at their mercy. I mean, I like it. You know, we kind of joke and go back to the old days with the "she hates me" and all that. But
you keep saying "she hates me." It was "he hates me."
That's one of the players, dude. I mean, it was really on the back of his shirt. She hates me.
No, it was "he hates me." It wasn't "she hates me."
Well, you know, close enough, but whatever.
No, but "she hates me." She hates me has a whole different connotation with a football player. But yeah, go ahead.
But I mean, that shows you that they are paying attention. You know, even if you go back to 82, 83, 84, they were cognizant of what the USFL was doing. So the NFL is alert of what's going on. They pay attention. And the AFF, you know, it may not be what the XFL was, but it was I liked it. And the NFL clearly liked it because the minute that league folded, they jumped on every player that was halfway decent. So
here's a reason. Here's one of the biggest reasons I think that this is a sustainable product. Not just that it's Vince McMahon who created, you know, this successful entity, the WWE. It's huge. People love it. It's not my thing, but I get it. Entertainment value of it, all that. You know, when I was a kid, I did. You know, I loved Hulk Hogan and some of those guys. I loved the storylines. I'd watch that, and I swear to God, even at a young age, like at 12 years old, I told my mom, I'm like, I'm telling you right now, Mom. The WWF, which I think it was at the time.
Yes.
This is more sophisticated than Days of Our Lives. The soap operas you watch are less there's more intelligence going on with this stuff. You know, you got Hulk Hogan, you got Rowdy Randy Piper, this stuff is way more intelligible than what you're watching daytime TV. Anyway.
Oh my
XFL,
God.
The way that they're paying players. The reason I think this is going to last is the way that they're paying players. And extra, well, it's motivation. It's going to keep players involved. Now, of course, if they get an NFL deal, they're going to take it because the money in the NFL, the minimum contract, is over $500,000. So you're going to sign if they want to sign you on the dotted line and bolt for the NFL. That's good though. That still keeps the XFL as a viable pathway, a viable league. It doesn't hurt them. They'll just maybe lose some of their players if they're not, you know, signed long term or however it works out. It still keeps the XFL viable. But the fact that they're paying almost $3,000 a week for each player on the active roster, 1,000 of that's guaranteed. And then I just learned this earlier today before the show, $100,000 is set aside for the winning team of each game.
Right.
So around $2,200 called a victory bonus is paid to each player on the team that wins the game. You're getting as much, practically almost as much to win a game as you're getting, you know, anyway, definitely more than the guaranteed amount, twice as much as what you're guaranteed for that game if your team wins. What the hell? Of course you're going to go out there balls out.
It's funny because you said that about how much you get if the team wins, and my son was sitting on the couch and he said, do each one of them get 100,000 or do they have to split it? And so you're saying that the team has to split that 100,000 then? Yeah,
so essentially $2,200 ish, a little over that, to each player of the winning team.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a crazy incentive, unheard of, really. That's interesting, and I think those kinds of things will bring the best talent in America or wherever in the world to play for the XFL. And what you guys were talking about before certainly doesn't hurt the XFL if they become sort of a conduit to the NFL, because they're still bringing in the best players that are trying to get to the NFL, and in the meantime, they're playing on their teams.
So, Daryl, Jeremy won't understand this comparison, but do you believe that the XFL could be the AEW to the NFL's WWE?
You lost me.
I really do. I mean, the AF tried, but this is, from everything that I have seen and heard and watched, I mean, I think this is the best product, best secondary to the NFL that I have seen in quite some time. And I think Vince McMahon, he's really studied this. He's really watched this. While it's very similar to what the NFL does, it has its own style. It has its own brand. And that's kind of what AEW is to the WWE. They're very similar, but they have their own mark. They have their own stamp. They have their own style. So yeah, for me, yeah, I'm liking it. I really think this is sustainable. We'll see where it goes from here.
Cool. You mentioned Becky Lynch earlier. Would today be better if Becky Lynch was somehow involved?
Oh, Becky Lynch is the man, dude. Don't even. Becky Lynch is the man. Don't even.
I don't know if you see behind me, but I have my Sasha Banks autographed mat thing behind me. I like I like Sasha and Alexa Bliss. Those two are my favorites.
Alexa Bliss is the bomb, but Sasha Banks, I'm out. Becky Lynch is the man. She's the man. No doubt. She's the man.
I still think the best thing that I know, Jeremy, we lost Jeremy, but I still think the best thing that punch to the face by Nia and that bloody face, I think that's what made her be the man. And I still think in all the years I'm 52. I've been watching it since I was a little kid, but I think that image of her standing there with that bloody face is one of the best images ever in wrestling.
Yes. I mean, I watched it last week. I agree with you, but she's got that cockiness, she's got that calmness, and she come out with those glasses last week and she's like straight up, you know what? I am the dog. And I'm with her. Becky Lynch is the bomb, Forget all these other guys. Forget all these other girls. Becky Lynch, I'm on it.
Male wise, though, Daryl, who do you like over there, male wise? I know this isn't football related, but I'm interested now the way you say that about Becky. Who do you like guy wise?
What are we even doing?
I know,
right
but listen, he's our guest, and it's something he likes. I wanted to hear what he likes about guys.
Oh man.
Well, we know what he likes about guys. He's always looking at me weird. No. I'm kidding, bro. Look at him. He's about to fall out of his chair.
He's giving you the Stone Cold Steve Austin salute. But for male talent on the WWE, what do you like?
All time, it is definitely Stone Cold because I relate with him. But I'm going to go off script, and most people will not agree with me. But I am such a huge Fiend fan right now. Oh, yeah. I mean, what he's doing, that's a game changer. I mean, people draw to that. I mean, they're like, what is he going to do next? Where's he coming from? I'm huge on
That's
the Fiend.
what I say about you, but what name did you just drop?
He said the Fiend. There's a wrestler. His name is Bray Wyatt, and he did a thing for a long time, and then he went away for a little bit, and then when he came back with a whole new character.
You know what I think? Yeah. I think Deepin is the Fiend.
He could be. And you know what? I agree with you in the sense that he is a character that is a different type of character than what people do. And Bray has always been really good enough to sell whatever kind of character he's playing. Right. So I agree with you. I think that he's pretty good. Stone Cold is a good one to for past. And Jeremy's falling asleep. Daryl, the same thing happened with me and Russ in Canton. We talked about comic books, and then Jeremy fell asleep in that conversation.
Listen, hey, nerds,
oh man, I can do comic books too, man.
Come
on,
man.
Books.
I haven't said a single word. It's time to change the subject. Clearly, one of us is not interested in this bullshit.
No, but listen,
comic books with the bomb diggity, don't even.
And listen, Daryl,
you need to take that Ohio State visor you got on your head. You need to take
I'm gonna beat your ass with it next time.
You need to take that thing and reach behind you and wrap it, baby. Wrap it.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna whip your ass with this visor next time I see you, bro.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. No, but listen, Daryl has his hands in a lot of different things that he likes.
It's interesting, man. I mean, for me, I'm like Henry David Thoreau. No, D-Win. I mean, that's my guy, man. He's into IDP and he's good at it. We brought him into Seek and Destroy. he was my first choice, just like for tonight. In the first vacancy in Seek and Destroy, I'm like D-Win. So he came in, and a couple other guys we know too. We brought them in, but he was the first guy because he's so fun and he knows his shit. Dynasty football, redraft, IDP. He wears a lot of hats. He's a jack of all trades. I did not say jackass, did I?
No, you didn't. But you did just say it. You know what else is funny? Daryl, I am getting a text right now from my father who's asking me if I'm coming over for the UFC fight right now. And I just texted him. I'm in the middle of doing a show right now, so I can't come. But that dude who said my balls are hot, that guy just won in a decision in the UFC fight.
My balls are all tight. What the hell is he bragging?
Dude, do you know that, right, Daryl? Jeremy, the guy,
no idea.
the guy fought.
We spend more time talking WWE than
No. This is UFC. The guy fought in a UFC match. He won, and then when Joe Rogan comes out to interview him, he takes his pants off in the middle of the ring, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "My balls are hot." And it was just like
hilarious, dude. First of all, I don't watch the UFC. I have watched, and I thought maybe it was something I could partake of. But my problem with fighting is, listen, if somebody needs their ass beat, I'll do it. If you're picking my family, my friends, if you need your ass kicked, I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm serious. I'm not probably gonna defend myself. I'll run away first.
Oh my God!
But for other people, I'll defend them. But when you're 30 years old and you're in a ring trying to prove that you're the tougher guy, what the f is wrong with you? First of all, look at my face. That's my pride and joy. I don't want somebody's eventually gonna f my face up.
Oh my God! People don't get to see your face.
I can't anymore.
I mean, I'm gonna kick and stomp, and I'm gonna punch with my long arms. I'm gonna keep my face away though, because I don't want you messing with my face.
Oh my God! I wish people could see the visual because Daryl and I are cracking up, and if you could see Jeremy's face, I don't think we.
You see my face? I've been in a lot of fights.
Never mind. I can't say what I was gonna say.
Oh, shoot,
but my dad knows how to get me to come because that was one of the funniest things I ever saw in a fight when the guy just says, "Oh well, my balls was hot." That's why he took his pants off.
I did watch the last Conor McGregor thing because someone sent us a link and it was late at night and everybody was asleep, and I think we recorded the podcast or something. I went and I didn't want to snore and wake my wife up, so I just for a while I laid on the couch and I was going to watch TV, and I ended up falling asleep. But before I fell asleep, I had the phone on and I was streaming it, and I watched that fight, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? People spent all that money to watch this guy come in and with a knee knock the guy like kind of loopy, and then the shoulder. I'm like, oh my God, I could do this." Like this guy comes in with a cowboy hat, calling himself cowboy. I was like, wait a second, are we talking about the cowboy that's like, "I've been riding on"?
Oh my God, Daryl! I thought he was gonna complain.
I'm like, this is not a cowboy that's like out rustling cattle. This is not a badass guy. I get it. This is a guy that sang the song with Miley Cyrus's dad.
Oh my God!
That's watching fight me now.
Daryl, I thought he was gonna say that people could complain about paying for a fight that lasted 30 seconds, but he went with that he could do the fight.
Ain't nobody gonna. Oh shit! I just got my ass kicked.
Oh my God!
And that song, if you've heard it, there is a guy named Mercules. MERQUELES. Look it
Instead
up.
of Hercules, Mercules.
Mercules. I'm telling you, look it up. It's almost like a parody, but it's the freaking bomb diggity. I'm telling you right now. You need to watch that shit.
dude, that fight was really I was very entertained. I know there was a lot of people that were upset that fight lasted like 30 seconds. People, wait.
That's amazing. The hecklers in the crowd.
Yeah, did you hear that? They said, "Hey, shut up."
Hey, shut up. Oh shit.
That was great, dude. You even have your screen blurred, and I still saw him come in and go, "Hey, shut up."
That's freaking classic.
We're
I oftentimes sit here and I'm like, hey, Mike, shut up. I'm kidding.
we're gonna be moving the podcast stuff downstairs next week, hopefully.
Thank God.
So she just said, "Thank God."
They're taking my sweaty balls.
They're still behind the door right there. When I just said we're gonna move it downstairs, they just opened the door and said, "Thank God."
It's Michael Cipes for NPR Radio. I just had a full plate of sweaty balls.
Oh my God!
Hey, shut up.
Now I'm gonna whisper the rest of the show.
So we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Believe it or not.
Yes, we're gonna whisper the rest of the show so that we don't bother anybody. We'll do an ASMR show for the rest of the way. I think I just lost Daryl. He's cracking up.
Daryl, turn your audio back on.
Oh my!
It's on. It's on.
Oh my God! Now my stomach hurts too. Daryl just said he's dying.
I think we found a full-time replacement for Shane. We can just fire him on Monday. I'm just kidding. Back anytime.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, maybe we have come to the point where this could be the end of the show.
Well, we got the patrons.
Yes, we do have a Patreon show. Daryl, would you like to hang around and do our Patreon show with us?
Sure, why not?
All right, well, before we wrap all this up then, Jeremy, do you want to tell everybody?
Oh my
Well,
God.
let me tell you something. You want me to tell them about the store?
Yes,
'Cause we got a store, and I don't know who facilitates that store, but like we got a store. Like after you're done drinking a bunch of wild turkey, what you do is you go out to. Hold on, we gotta look up the link.
No,
Why don't you go out there? Listen, seriously, we got a store. It's DTHQ.strnv.com. That's DTHQ.storenvy.com. What you do is you go out there, get yourself a T-shirt, a hat, I don't know, maybe a mug or some stickers, some shit like that. Drink some wild turkey, put that shit on your laptop, put the hat on, shirt on, dance naked. We don't have any underwear, so you just dance around in your room and get crazy down there. Okay.
Daryl actually just got up from his chair and walked away. He's laughing so hard. He's not at the table anymore. All right. Also, go check out our iTunes account at DynastyTradesHQ.
Yes, goddamn right, it's good. But sake, we might send you one of them stickers.
Wait, before we leave, Daryl, if you could catch your breath, tell everybody where they can find you. His hands are over his face right now.
You can catch you can catch me at Dynasty Football Factory at DFFDWin. You can catch me on Twitter at HollywoodDFFDWin, on Reddit at King Titan 1, on the IDP subreddit. I have an IDP Nation Facebook page. I think that's it for now.
You can scratch my balls at DFF_ballsack.
Oh my God. And then you can find us at all of our stuff we said. Plus, Jeremy and I, we have XFL handles, right, Jeremy? What's your XFL handle?
At Madman XFL, because I'm excited as hell for the XFL.
and mine's XFL Blitz, just like FF Blitz. And I think we're gonna turn off the cameras right now and then do our Patreon. So thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week and say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.